Welcome to the metaverse. In today's show, we'll be talking about exploring extraordinary states of consciousness. But before we get into that, let's maybe define what ordinary states of consciousness are. So, in an ordinary state of consciousness, you perceive through your five senses, which is touching, tasting, smelling, hearing, and seeing, and as well as through your thinking and emotions. These three faculties make up our day-to-day experiences, and we happen to be very comfortable with them. However, in an extraordinary state of consciousness, you also perceive through your will. Your will is something that comes from within you. It's an ever-present force, but the problem is most of us aren't aware that we have access to this. Now, with the will, you can trigger some very neat experiences, whether it be lucid dreaming or conditioning your body to sustain and thrive in extreme conditions, such as what Wim Hof does. Or, most interestingly, you can manifest things. Manifestation is simply inducing change in conformity with the will. And I know nowadays there's a lot of woo and malarkey surrounding this concept of manifestation. But one metaphor that I personally love to use is that of the television and the remote. So while you're watching TV, if you no longer are enjoying the programming or the content that's present, you simply pick up your remote and change the channel. Manifestation works in a very similar way. When you're no longer enjoying the content of your experiences, you decide via intention to change your experiences. Now, mind you, while you're watching television, you could whine and complain as much as you want about how boring and horrible the content of what you're watching is. But up until you decide to change the channel, you don't experience any change in the content. Similarly, in this real world, up until you decide to change the content of your experiences, you get no such change. And in order to change it, you must first set the intention. Setting an intention is an act of the will. It's an act of volition. And this power exists within all of us. Now, at this point, let's indulge in a bit of confirmation bias and look at several different people that swear by this, whether it's Drake, Oprah Winfrey, or Jim Carrey. I could list dozens and dozens of famous people that acknowledge manifestation and attribute a lot of their success to it. However, no matter how much you study this or observe other people doing this, the only way to prove to yourself that this is a real phenomena is through your own subjective experience. And the very first step to using this power would be simply to be aware that it exists. So now that concludes our very first show. I'm going to list a few resources that you could use and look into if you're more curious. In our next show, we'll be covering frameworks for how something like manifestation can possibly work. Please share your questions, comments, or concerns below, and remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thanks. See you next time.